Alright, so I decided to do my demonstrative presentation on snowmobiling. I go snowmobiling every winter with my friends and I, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. We go out to the mountains most of the time, like at least 3 to 4 times a year, and it's really nice to know what to look for to help prevent risk, injury, death, or even damage to your snowmobile. First off is the drive belt. This is the main part that makes the snowmobile accelerate forward. It goes in between these two wheels right here. Things that you can look for to see if this part's damaged are frays and tears in the drive belt. You should always keep a spare one running with you in case something happens while you're riding. Next is the steering. Your steering should be able to move left to right freely. You can tell if this is a problem right away because you do that right away when you get on your snowmobile. Next is the parking brake. This is for when you're on hills or mountains going downward and you need your snowmobile just to stop where it's at. It can be really convenient, take a nice little break, but also can be risky because you could sometimes forget to turn it off, and this could cause your snowmobile to get warm internally and possibly causes damage to your internal parts. Next is the kill switch. This is the red button right here. You use this switch to turn your snowmobile off immediately, and most people just turn it out their snowmobile off using this kill switch all the time because there's not really like a key to turn it off. So next up is the tail light. You can tell if this is working right away by pressing in the brake. Your headlights and tail lights should always be working properly, and you can get fined if they aren't. Next up is your reflective tape. All snowmobiles have reflective tape on them, and you just want to make sure that they stay up to date in case you're riding at night and snowmobiles need to be able to see you. So it's really nice to have those up to date, and you can also get fined for that too. Next up is the throttle. Your throttle should be able to move freely without any resistance. It's really important to make sure that it's moving freely so it's not really stick. So if it sticks in like a certain position that you don't want it to, and it can accelerate you when you don't want. Next up is the tether. This is really convenient. You put it on your coat, and if you fall off your snowmobile, which happens quite often, it turns your snowmobile off right away. This could be a huge thing to prevent death or really serious injury, because if you fall off and your snowmobile is on top of you and your throttle is stuck, your track continues to run and it won't turn off unless you have a tether. Next up is the track. You should look at the tightness of your track, which affects the riding heavily. It should be just a little bit of resistance in there, and you gotta really keep up to date on that because your track can loosen up the more you ride. Next is the oil. The oil canister is over here, and you should check this and make sure it's full before every single ride, as it fluctuates the gas and keeps your snowmobile running properly. This could be really bad if you are out of oil, your snowmobile gets really hot, and sometimes it just shuts off because it's a safety feature that the snowmobiles have. Next up are the clutch weights. These are over here. You should adjust your clutch weights to the elevation you're riding at. This fluctuates the RPMs, and if you don't have the right clutch weights in, you can have low RPMs, or you can have really high RPMs, which causes your snowmobile to not run properly. Next up are the spark plugs. These are in right here, and these are what turns your snowmobile on. You should always have spare spark plugs in case your spark plugs go out on the mountain. It turns your snowmobile on, so you really need to have these. Next is the carbides. These are underneath the skis. These are really what's for traction. It's really nice to have on the trails. You can make you turn easier, and if you don't have these, then your snowmobile just won't turn because it won't be able to grab the traction. Next up are the high facts. This is on the snowmobile to prevent the track from running into the rails right here and the metal. Next is the temperature. You should always make sure your snowmobile is at the correct temperature before you start riding. Usually you have to let it warm up for about 60 seconds up to like 4 minutes. This is really important because you should always keep your temperature handy because you got to know if you're running hot or if it's too cold. I got this information from saferriders, safetyawareness.org, and snowmobilingpolaris.com. Like I said, it's really nice to know what to look for to help prevent risk or injury, and this can overall keep you safe, and you should do this before every single ride.